Good evening, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I invite you to bow your heads in prayer. Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all of our discussions, to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake for the benefit of the city of Joondalup and of our residents. May we respect each other's views at all times, and we ask all of this in your name. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Nala Kadich Wajak Morit Kain Kadak Nijabuja. We acknowledge Noongar people as the original custodians of this land, and I hereby declare this council meeting open at 6:30 p.m. In accordance with the recording and live streaming of council meetings council policy, this meeting will be recorded and live streamed on the city's website with the exception of confidential items and periods of adjournment as determined by the presiding member. Cameras have been positioned in such a way as to avoid members of the public. However, by being present at this meeting, members of the public consent to the possibility that their image may be live streamed to the public. Recordings will also be made available on the city's website following the meeting. The official recording of the meeting will be the written minutes kept in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995 and any relevant regulations. Now, first item of business is declarations. I've received a number, so please bear with me. First of all, from Councillor John Chester for item 12.9. It's interest that may affect impartiality as many of the nominees are known to Councillor Chester. Next, from Councillor Kingston for item 12.9, Coastal Hazard Risk Management Adaptation Plan Community Reference Group, appointment of community and elected representatives. It's an interest that may affect impartiality as a number of the nominees are known to Councillor Kingston. I'll go through because I've got a few of those. Also for 12.9, Councillor Christine Hamilton Prime. Also an interest that may affect impartiality as applicants are known to Councillor Hamilton Prime. Item 12.9 from Councillor Kingston. I think I have a double up there, which I've already read out. From Councillor Pizzi for item 12.9, interest that may affect impartiality as a number of the applicants are known to Councillor Pizzi. From myself for item 12.9, as a number of the nominees are known to myself, and also from Councillor Fishwick for item 12.9, as a number of the community nominees are also known to Councillor Fishwick. Further declaration from myself for item 12.4, status of legal action report. It's a financial interest as I do work for Thompson Gear, but I do not work on City of Joondalup matters. And from Councillor Hamilton Prime for item 12.5, confidential notice of motion project Axiom. It's interest that may affect impartiality as employees of HCL are known to Councillor Hamilton Prime and she has attended HCL events in the past. And also item 13.1.1, McNaughton Park facility upgrade. It's an interest that may affect impartiality as a member of Councillor Hutton's family is a frequent user of the facility. Thank you. Is that another one? Councillor Raftis, I'll just pass the parcel and get that up here. Thank you. Item 12.9 again, interest that may affect impartiality for Councillor Raftis as a number of the nominees are known to him, and I'm assuming for Councillor Vinciulo, item 12.9, interest that may affect impartiality as a number of the nominees are known to him. Any other declarations? Deputy Mayor?
So just checking if you called out mine. Not sure you did, but it's listed there.
No, I didn't call yours out, but I had a double up of Councillor Kingston's. So, did you want?
It was on the screen earlier.
Yes. No, I was going on the signed forms.
There.
Also, an interest of may affect impartiality for item 12.5 for Councillor Hill, because Councillor Hill has previously attended a cricket test match event as an invite of HCL Services Australia. Project Axiom was not discussed at this event. Thank you, Councillor Hill. Deputy Mayor. Any further declarations? Excellent. Now, next item on the agenda is deputations, which was dealt with at the briefing session. So then the next item of business is public question time. There's a set of procedures which relates to public question time, and I request that you follow my direction at all times. You'll have an opportunity to ask 2 questions. Your questions should be directed to the chair and asked in a polite and respectful manner. And please state your name and address for the public record before asking your question. Are there any questions? Please, Mr. Sidiris.
Good evening. Mitch Sedaris, 12 Page Drive, Modeloo. Just referring to referring to the response for question 4, it indicates that the volunteers listed on the city's volunteer register would be covered. Can you please direct me to that listing? It's mentioned in the answer to...
No, I get that part of it, Mr. Sideris. I'm just working out who that would come under. I'm looking at governance in the first instance. Corporate services, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the reference is made in terms of all the volunteers who are undertaking activities on behalf of City of Joondalup as directed. So the expectation is the volunteers would be declaring as to which individuals are working on activities controlled by City of Joondalup, and only those volunteers would be covered under city's volunteer insurance policy.
Thank you. Mr. Sideris? Second question?
I won't restate the question, but the response given implies that there's more volunteers listed than just the friends groups working in the natural areas. If so, and I understand the policy covers all City of Joondalup volunteers, where may I find a copy of the listing of all those volunteer organisations, groups or whatever?
I don't think that we would publish the identification of everyone who volunteers with a volunteer group for the city. I don't know if that's something that the city would be proposing to put out publicly, Mr. Sideris, if that's what you're requesting.
With due respect, Mr. Mayor.
It's not something I'm looking to be argued with. That seemed to be the question. If the Director of Corporate Services has anything different, if not, we'll take the rest of that question on notice, and noting that you asked the original... It wasn't directed... Thank you, Mr. Sideris. Noting that you asked the original question in writing, we'll take the rest on notice. Thank you. Any other questions?
Sorry, I missed that. Was that?
We'll take that on notice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we proceed to public statement time. There's a set of procedures relating to public statement time, and I request that you follow my direction at all times. You're able to make a statement for up to 2 minutes. Your statement should be directed to the chair and be polite and respectful. No question or discussion will occur at the end of your statement. And please come forward and state your name and address for the public record before making your statement. Are there any statements? If not, I declare public statement time closed and we proceed to apologies and leaves of absence. Are there any requests for a leave of absence, councillors? Councillor Raftis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For 5th of May to the 11th of May and 11th of June to 22nd of June, please.
Thank you. Any other requests? Yep. Councillor Pizzi.
Can I please request from Thursday the 1st to the 18th of May, please?
Thank you. Any other requests? I then propose to move that motion with parts 1, 2 and 3. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Deputy Mayor, thank you. By a show of hands, those in favour? Against? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Next item of business is the confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover that the minutes of the council meeting from the 25th of March be confirmed as a true and correct record? Moved Councillor Jones, seconded Councillor May. Are there any questions or discussion on the minutes? If not, I will put that motion and ask you to cast your vote on the screens before you. Thank you. Declare the voting closed and that is carried. Next item of business is announcements by the presiding member without discussion. First of all, the Joondalup Festival of Motoring, or the 2025 Tyre Power Joondalup Festival of Motoring, is finally here in the Joondalup City Centre this weekend. More than 1,000 vehicles, from vintage classics to modern supercars, will be on show, accompanied by live entertainment, food vendors and licensed bars. On Saturday, the program includes an automotive trash and treasure swap meet before the Northern Steel Car Club rolls into Boas Avenue car park, and nearly every era of automotive history will be represented. On Sunday, it's time for classic cars and coffee and the highlight event, the Joondalup City Sprint. Residents and visitors are encouraged to come to Joondalup this weekend to cheer on the drivers as they put the pedal to the floor and tackle the tight street circuit in a time trial format. For all event details and updates, including road closure details, visit the Joondalup Festival of Motoring website or their social media channels. Secondly, the city's revamped website has been selected as a finalist in the Tech Web App category at the 2025 Australian Web Awards. Launched in October 2024, the city's website redevelopment was driven by extensive community and stakeholder feedback. Working with Perth web development agency Alika, the website boasts improved search functionality to ensure that residents, businesses and visitors can quickly access essential services. The Australian Web Awards honour the best digital work produced in Australia over the past year, and winners will be announced in Melbourne on Saturday the 17th of May. Finally, one of the city's most anticipated infrastructure projects, the Duncraig Adventure Hub, is fast taking shape. This hub will include a signature skate park and BMX pump and jump track, a purpose-built space for community events and activities, and also a sensory monster playground. The project is supported by a $3 million grant from Lottery West and more than $1.4 million from the Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Funding Program. The hub is expected to open later this year, and residents can sign up for the Duncraig Adventure Hub newsletter to be among the first to receive updates. Visit the project page at the city's website. Next item of business is identification of matters for which the meeting may be closed to the public. There are two confidential reports, being item 12.4, confidential status of legal actions report, and also item 12.5, confidential notice of motion, project Axiom. There's also a report being item 12.9, Coastal Hazard Risk Management and Adaptation Plan Community Reference Group appointment, which has confidential attachments, which we will be discussing at length. So I propose, therefore, a procedural motion that all three of those items be discussed after motions of which previous notice has been given. Without reading out the full motion, you'll see it on the screens before you. Essentially, that item 12.4, 12.9 and 12.5 be discussed after motions of which previous notice has been given. So moved. I have a seconder. Seconded, Deputy Mayor. Just for the benefit of those in the gallery or anybody listening online, to consider confidential items, we have to ask people to leave and consider those items. So we're shifting these three items to the very back of the agenda. So anybody who wishes to attend, their items will be dealt with first, and then we'll deal with these three at the very end of the meeting. I'll put that motion and ask you to cast your votes on the screens before you. Declare the voting closed, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11, petitions. Are there any petitions from elected members? If not, we will consider those again at the briefing session. Finally, we come to the reports section of the agenda. As is our practice, I'll go around the room and invite elected members the opportunity to withdraw an item. I'll start to the left, Councillor Raftis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looking to withdraw 12.5 and 12.11, please.
Thank you. Councillor Fishwick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 12.2. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Councillor Chester.
Yes, thank you. 12.10.
Thank you. Councillor Vinciolo.
None for me this evening, thank you.
Councillor Hamilton Prime.
None, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Pizzey.
None for me, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor May.
None from me. I assume 12.9 is already being pulled because it's moved to confidential items.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
None, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kingston.
Yes, I have 12.8, where I have an alternate for
the superannuation, and 12.9, I'll be looking to add an additional name for there's 11, and I've sent you an email about that, given I
Thank
didn't
you.
nominate any of those names.
Councillor Hutton?
12.7.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Item 13.1.1 as Chair of the Major Projects and Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll also withdraw 12.3 merely because it requires an absolute majority, so it has to be withdrawn. And I'll just flag Councillor Raftis withdrew 12.5, but I note Councillor Kingston had an alternate that he'd asked for at the briefing session on that one. I think the two alternates are essentially, the net effect of both of them is very, very close to being the same, but I will probably go to Councillor Kingston on that one just because he flagged that one at the briefing session first.
Sorry, Mayor Jacob, I'm happy to let Councillor Raftis move his alternates, given they're so similar.
Right. Yep, that's fine too. In that case, we go to 12.2, Councillor Fishwick.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move a alternate that was circulated in the briefing notes. I'm happy to read if required.
I think for the record, and given that we had deputations, I think it's better that you do.
Clause 1 of that council, Clause 1, approves under Clause 68 2C of Schedule 2 of the Planning and Development Local Planning Scheme Regulations 2015, the application for development approval to amend DA 18/1372, dated 10 July 2024, submitted by CF Town Planning and Development, the applicant, on behalf of the owners, JHF Holdings Proprietary Limited, for educational establishment modifications to previously approved operating hours, DA 18/1372, on lot 702, units 22 and 23, in brackets 34 Murray Road, Duncraig, subject to the following. 1.1, DA 18/1372, approved on the 26th of April 2019, remains a valid approval, and all conditions and advice notes of that approval remain applicable, with the exception of condition 2 and 3, which are replaced as outlined below. 2, a maximum of 15 students and 3 tutors / staff shall be permitted on the premises Monday to Friday, and a maximum of 15 students and 2 tutors / staff shall be permitted on Saturday. Clause 3 is, the operating hours shall be restricted to not more than between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Monday to Friday, and 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Seconded, Councillor Raftis. Councillor Fishwick.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The proposed amendment to allow Kim McGrath Duncraig to operate between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. on Saturdays represents a reasonable, balanced and beneficial use of the premises that aligns with the community needs and without compromising the amenity of the surrounding neighbourhood or parking availability. Firstly, in terms of the parking conflicts, the applicant has shown good faith by supporting my proposed amendment operating hours of 3 p.m. to 6 p.m, ensuring that no overlap with peak trading hours of the Little H Cafe, which closes at 3 p.m, noting that its kitchen does close at 2:30 p.m. on Saturdays. This adjustment directly responds to concern raised by the city's administration regarding a short-term increase in parking demand prior to 3 p.m. Parking demand is noticeably lower after 3 p.m, and the applicant's parking survey indicated from 3:30 p.m. onwards, only 5 of the 13 at-grade commercial bays were in fact used. This allows adequate capacity for 2 staff vehicles and provides suitable short-term parking availability for parent drop-off and pick-ups, many of which will be of a brief duration. Secondly, by extending the operating hours to include Saturday afternoons, offers significant educational benefits to local families, with many students facing increasing academic pressures and weekday scheduling conflicts due to extracurricular and family commitments. So therefore, Saturday sessions will provide valuable flexibility. And this is particularly important for working families and those with multiple children, offering tutoring during a quiet and focused weekend period, supports academic access and aligns with the core community function of the neighbourhood centre, being to provide a variety of essential and accessible services. Thirdly, there will be minimal impact on parking. The tutoring centre will not increase the number of students or staff from what is already approved, noting that the Saturday session remains capped at 15 students and only 2 staff members. The applicant has clearly outlined that only 1 class will run on Saturdays, and that will commence at 3:15 p.m. after the cafe has closed and when existing parking demand has suitably declined. Drop-off and pick-up behaviour is staggered and brief, so further reducing the long-term pressures on the bays. And some families walk or cycle, and not all high school students drive motor vehicles, or some of them don't even have licences. So moreover, the 5 on-street parking bays in the immediate area, with 2 on in Casino Road and 3 in Murray Road, provide additional short-term parking support, particularly after the cafe trading hours. Fourthly, it's a reasonable and proportionate use. My alternate proposal reflects a modest and measured expansion of the use, does not request increased student numbers, building modifications, or long-term parking allocations. It's a logical, low-impact enhancement of the site's existing educational function, adapted to local family needs and supported by strategic timing to mitigate impact. Importantly, the proposal is limited to 1 class per Saturday afternoon, and this is not an expansion into commercial scale weekend operations. It's simply an opportunity to offer single, well-timed tutoring sessions each week in a way that supports students without placing undue strain on existing infrastructure. The applicant has shown a genuine willingness to cooperate with the city's concerns and has already adjusted their proposal in response to the parking concerns raised. The revised operating window from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. is a direct compromise that balances operational need with planning considerations. And in conclusion, in view of the modest scale of the proposal, the careful adjustment of operating hours to avoid peak commercial use, the clear community and educational benefit, and the minimal parking impact after 3 p.m, I believe this application strikes an appropriate balance between responsible land use and community service. I therefore respectfully request that the Council supports the application to amend the condition 3 of DA 18/1372, allowing Kip McGrath Duncraig to operate between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. on Saturdays, subject to all existing operational conditions remaining in place. And just as an adjunct to my closing remarks, the administration were supportive of the change in hours rather than, that's why they refused the first lot of hours, but I believe that they're supporting the change which was in their report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Actis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Congratulations, Councillor Fishwick, for a very comprehensive summary of what we face here in terms of the alternate and the supporting information for it. So based on that and the flexibility shown by the applicant to move the class to the afternoon and alleviate concerns with parking issues, and particularly as it does have a positive outcome on the community based on education services, we'll be supporting this alternate. So, thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Chester.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just want to commend Councillor Fishwick for moving his very constructive alternate motion, but could I just ask whether the Director of Planning has any further commentary to make on the alternative?
Director.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. No, as Councillor Fishwick alluded to in his comments, the city's supportive, or the administration rather, is supportive of the alternate. The modified operating hours takes us into a situation where there's no longer an overlap between Little H, which was the tenancy that was generating more of the parking ahead of 3 p.m. Now that Kip McGrath or the educational establishment looks to trade from 3 p.m. onwards, as I said, there's no overlap and therefore there's no parking shortfall created, and so the city's quite comfortable with the alternate.
Further comments? Just a quick question from myself, Director Lee. In the officer's comments, I'll just preface this by saying it's a bit unusual compared to the Little H application, where here it's not the operator who's applying, it's the owner. Is that correct?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we believe it was their appointed planning consultant, but the owner rather than the tenant.
So I note in the first paragraph of the officer's comments where we examined restricting it to primary school children, the feedback was that the operator does not wish to limit the potential to offer it to high school aged children. But in the second paragraph, the advice we have is that the applicant is willing to accept a condition limiting the hours as put forward in the alternate. Are we aware of the operator's position on this change?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we are, and the operator is supportive of the change as well.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Fishwick, do you wish to close?
Just very briefly, in relation to the Little H Cafe, I did attend on a Saturday, and there was after 2:30, and there was certainly a reduction in the parking in the area. And speaking to the proprietor, as it was raised in terms of their 2:30 shutting down the kitchen, he advised me as a family man, there's no way he wants to extend those hours. He wants to be home with his children as soon as he can. So just leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put that motion and ask you to cast your votes. Oop. Not just yet. Please cast your votes. Thank you. Declare the voting closed and the motion is carried. Councillor Fishwick will need a reason.
In accordance with the admin regulations, the approval of the hours to operate an educational institution will benefit the community and won't impact on the car parking generated by Little H Cafe.
Thank you, Councillor Fishwick. Next, we have item 12.3, which is the parking amendment local law. I've only withdrawn this because it requires an absolute majority. I propose to move the recommendation as put before us. Do I have a seconder? A seconder, Deputy Mayor, thank you. I don't wish to discuss the item, Deputy Mayor.
No reserve right, thank you.
Any comments, councillors? If not, I'll put that motion and ask you to cast your votes. Thank you. Declare the voting closed and that item's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next item is item 12.7, minutes of the Regional Council meeting. Councillor Hutton.
Thank you. Just have a few questions to begin with, but yes, moving the motion. Do we need a seconder?
Yep. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Seconded, Councillor Kingston. Councillor Hutton.
Yeah, thank you. Just had a few questions to begin with. To do with the Mindarie Regional Council minutes. I noticed there was a motion moved to do with the blended gate fee, which lost. I'm just curious to hear the city's position on that and if we have any update on why that motion failed.
Director Klassen.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as we've explained following a question at the briefing session, the attempt from the mover being Councillor Fishwick was based on the effect that the current gate fee is set at $183 per tonne. That's the blended gate fee. Without waste to energy, the gate fee would have been $172 per tonne, and as such, the request was to revert back to $172 per tonne and refund the member councils what they've in effect overpaid. The position of the MRC and some of the other members around the MRC table was that they'd rather retain the money within the MRC to put that towards the post-closure reserve. Obviously, that is different from the city's position, and unfortunately, that was lost, that amendment.
Councillor Hutton.
Yeah, thank you. Following on from that, there was also a motion to do with the budget review, which failed for lack of achieving an absolute majority, and it makes reference to it going back to a special council meeting. Do we have any update on that motion, whether or not it has been subsequently passed?
Director.
Through Mr. Mayor, yes, a special council meeting was arranged, I think it was the 8th or the 9th of April, I stand under correction, which was attended by our representatives, and that motion was carried to adopt the mid-year review budget. Subsequently, there was a revocation motion put, and that went to the 24 April MRC council meeting. That revocation motion was lost, and as such, the Bundaro Regional Council mid-year review budget was adopted.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Further on in the report, sorry, in the minutes, there's reference to odour management report. I make reference to a line in the report which basically makes reference to the fact that the number of reports, it says since its peak in August 2024, the issue of odour affecting the local community has improved dramatically. And provided is a table which basically lists August 2024 through to Jan 2025 and shows a nice decrease in odour reports. I wonder if we actually have any year-on-year comparisons to actually compare winter to winter, and summer to summer, whether or not there could be a comment. Do we generally expect the odour reports to remain constant throughout the year, or is there maybe seasonal impacts that haven't been factored into this graph and table? It's on page 165 of the attachments.
Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have seasonal reports. We can certainly request that from the MRC, so I will have to take that part of the question on notice. The expectation is that there will be seasonal variations on the odour, and as such, based on that, it does not cover the full 12-month period, so one would expect that there will be different odour issues in different parts of the year.
Yeah, and thank you, Mayor. Just to make a comment, firstly, I commend the work of councillors of the City of Joondalup for the work they have done on these issues, such as the blended gate fee and also the odour issues. It's good to see City of Joondalup continue to stand up for local residents. I do just make the note to council that it is interesting to read in this report to see that basically the odour issues have been solved ahead of the winter peak period, which we don't know the outcome and results. So I would find it very good to actually be able to see comparing, Q1 this year to Q1 last year, not comparing this month to last month, not comparing summer to winter, but comparing winter to winter and summer to summer. Might give us a better idea of how the odour reports are going. Obviously, very interested to see how the how all of the promised odour management initiatives, how successful they are over the next few months. So we'd be interested to get as much information as possible from the administration when that becomes available through MRC. Second to that, just wanted to touch on a point to do with the Catalina Regional Council minutes, that there's been an ongoing discussion about a land swap between Catalina Regional Council and the state government. This land swap effectively is swapping a national park for a piece of land that is developed, that can be developed. That went through last week, which now means the Catalina Regional Council is in a position to complete the full scope of the development. Obviously, that's the full scope of the development not affected by the buffer zone. But yeah, the Catalina Regional Council is continuing to develop these lands and provide a return to member councils. So I just bring that to your attention. But yeah, I obviously have issues with some of the information provided by Mindarie Regional Council, but nonetheless, I support noting the minutes of the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Kingston.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions that have arisen from Councillor Hutton's. Firstly, this land swap between, I imagine it's Joondalup National Park and the Catalina Regional Council, was that a major land transaction?
Director.
Sorry, I need to take that on notice. I'm not aware of the transaction.
Thank you. And then further on, could we just get more information about this land swap? And is it possible for the council in future to receive notifications if there are land transactions of significant parcels of land around the Catalina estate or around the Mindarie Regional Council? Notifications to the Joondalup Council if those are occurring.
I mean, it needs to be borne in mind this isn't another council that's done this, but I think officers have said they'll take on notice it was a major land transaction. I think we can request to be directly informed if there are any other for the regional councils of which we're a member, but your question about any others within the region, I mean, that's a bit open-ended.
Oh, I mean in particular with those regional councils, so the MRC and then this CRC. And just to touch on, just to clarify that point, is of course we're a landowner in those, so we're swapping land for which we have a commercial interest in. So that's the reason for that question. And then also the odour management and the time of the year. So the MRC claims on its, well, claims probably isn't the right word for it. The MRC report on page 163 of the attachments does talk about mitigations which are going to be done through the winter season. Do we feel confident that these mitigations that they've put in place, shaping and reprofiling caps portions of the tip, removal of leachate, and accelerating existing plans for rainwater management, do we believe that those are in place currently, given that we're going to enter into winter very soon?
Director Klassen.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as we are not directly involved in the operational management of the landfill, I will have to take that question on notice. I don't have the response to that, sorry.
Thank you. And then just a short comment. Look, I think it's the good work that Councillor Fishwick has done, trying to bring attention around the budget and the gate fee. I think it's good he's been advocating around that strongly. I know it hasn't always been easy, but I think he's done a good job to do that. I think some of the decisions from the Regional Council, I'm not sure they're always in Joondalup's best interest or in the interests of our residents, but of course there's multiple entities which are balancing what they believe is best, but I just hope that they continue to put some focus on dealing with these issues and at least try to notify the constituent local governments more when they're taking significant decisions or when there's significant impacts.
Thank you. Further comments? No further comments. Councillor Hutton, do you wish to close?
Yeah, I'll just briefly close. Just in regards to the land transaction, this was a land transaction initially negotiated in 2006 that's been through a lot of back and forward. So the information has been readily publicly available about it. It's just been finally ticked off and approved, and the transactions actually went through. But it's been part of all of the Catalina development plans up to now. It's just been getting it across the line has been the difficulty. But yeah, we'll await the official information.
Thank you. I'll put that motion.
Can I make a point of clarification?
Councillor, point of order. Councillor Kingston.
Yes, it just seemed to suggest as if I hadn't been reading the public documents. So I was just sort of clarify the point I was making about was it a major land transaction, which is a regulated process under the Act.
I'm not
so that's why
sure.
Making a clarification. I believe I was misunderstood.
Councillor Kingston, I've asked you before not to talk over me. There's a... Hold on.
So it would have been a personal explanation.
Councillor Kingston, hold.
I'm just trying to assist.
I'm not asking for your assistance. I'm asking you to wait. Thank you. is a point. I think at the point, I'm trying to find the point at what I'm getting at. The point at which debate has closed, no, I'm aware of that clause. It's the point at which you're seeking to raise it, which is after Councillor Hutton has closed debate and I have just said that I'm putting the motion. I don't think that is an appropriate point at which you can raise this. I'm just trying to find the reason why.
Say it's clause 7.16, so I'm not engaging in
I'm
debate.
aware of the personal explanation one. That is not what I'm talking about, Councillor Kingston. Yeah, 9.14, subclause 5. At the conclusion of the right of reply, the primary motion is immediately to be put to the vote. That's my point. So this is not the time to raise that. Thank you. I'll put the motion and ask you to cast your vote. Declare the voting closed and the motion is carried. Thank you.
Sorry, Major.
Councillor Kingston.
Yes, just a point of clarification for future matters. If somebody wishes to raise a personal explanation, when would be, in your opinion, the time to do it if you believe you've been misunderstood in a closing comment? So now that we have voted,
yep,
is now an appropriate time?
No, now is an appropriate time to ask that question. That's why, and I will say, Councillor Kingston, you do have a habit of talking over me. I will seek assistance if I'm seeking it. I knew what I was looking for. It's a large document, and you can see now why I asked that you not. Secondly, it's at the presiding member's discretion whether it can be heard immediately at the conclusion of the speech by the other member. And also I draw your attention to 3, it must be a succinct statement. Now, my reading of 7.16 is that it's open to elected members to raise it. In fact, it can even be raised at the end of the meeting. But I think now would be, if you wish to raise one, Councillor Kingston.
Yes, I would just like to make a personal explanation in relation to Councillor Hutton's comments. He seemed to make a number of comments about these items have always been publicly available in the Catalina Regional Council's agendas, which is correct. The point I was going to was about it being a major land transaction under the Local Government Act and the disclosure processes and notifications that occur through that. So the publication of a business plan and those elements. So there's a slight difference than just, being in the agendas.
Noted. Thank you. I didn't take Councillor Hutton's to be an inference, but I'm happy to accept the personal explanation. Thank you. Next item of business is item 12.8. Councillor Kingston.
So I had a alternate circulated at the briefing session, which made a choice of the options.
Thank you. Do you wish to move?
Yes, please.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Hutton. Councillor Kingston.
I don't wish to speak to this. I think it's self-explanatory. It just means it becomes mandatory on the 19th of October in accordance with the new provisions of the Act. But I will respond to comments.
Councillor Hutton. Any other comments? I'll make a few brief comments. Just generally, and as someone who's been in public office for a while now, and that includes a couple of terms in Parliament, which in times gone past was long enough to have qualified me for what people would have thought of as a parliamentary pension. In fact, I found upon leaving Parliament that members of my immediate family thought that there was a parliamentary pension. I can assure you I was never eligible for one. In fact, the Honourable Mark McGowan was the last person in Western Australia to have been eligible for one. They were abolished more than 20 years ago, yet I still see them come up frequently and people raise them. I make that point because I see superannuation for local government elected members as being a similar issue. I think there's been a change in local government over recent years in terms of remuneration, and I'm not for a second saying local government elected members aren't remunerated well, but I think it's often not understood, not just for elected members, but also particularly for the CEOs and senior officers, that the amount that is put forward for local government is the total amount rendered to that person, and there isn't on top of that, as you see with many other jobs, and I think most people would assume a 10 or now 12% superannuation contribution. In fact, when people talk about state government salaries, almost always there is a superannuation contribution on top of that. There certainly is for elected members in other tiers. I think it's just important to draw to people's attention that that has not existed in local government. So I'm not saying that we aren't fairly remunerated. I'm just saying that in my experience, most people have assumed that there's been a superannuation contribution on top of that. There has not been. It will be mandatory after October, so that will be the case then, but up until now that has not been the case. Further comments? Councillor Kingston, do you wish to close? In that case, I'll put that motion and ask you to cast your votes. Declare the voting closed and the item is carried. Thank you. Next item of business is item 12.10. Councillor Chester.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a query about a payment. If you
I just need the motion moved first, if I can,
yes.
Councillor Chester.
Certainly. I'd like to move the motion as outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill seconded. Councillor Chester.
Yes, thank you. Looking at the attachments, I should say, on page 202, and I'm referring here to removal of curbing. A very large project undertaken in Malanda Boulevard just recently with a very good outcome. Thank you, Mr. Director, for that improvement to the road I use daily. The amount here, $133,462, is the bulk of that costing the removal, initial removal, or the disposal, or a combination of both? And finally, do we have a policy of recycling the curbing we do remove? And there's quite a lot of it each year. Thank you.
Director.
Through Mr. Mayor, I'll take the first part of that question on notice, if I may, in terms of the costings. Yes, in terms of the recycling, any concrete are recycled for crushing again. So we've got a process in place for those. But the costings I'll take on notice and provide you with some detail.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Further comments? If not, I'll put this motion and ask you to cast your votes. Declare the voting closed and the item is carried unanimously. Thank you. I forgot to say governance, when only the mover speaks, I don't go back to the mover for right of reply because there's nothing to reply to. Sorry, I should have made that clear as a step. Item 12.11, financial activity statement for February 2025. Councillor Raftis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's move the item as released by the officers. Thanks.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconded, Councillor Fishwick. Councillor Raftis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just have a question, if I could, through you, in terms of if the acting director could explain the calculations for the year-to-date budget for salaries and wages, factoring in how the mid-year budget amendment has been processed. Thanks.
Acting Director.
Sorry, can I get you to repeat the question, Councillor Rafters? How the media budget amendment processed for employee cost? Is that what your question is?
Councillor Rafters.
In terms of the employment salaries and wages and how that year-to-date budget has been adjusted to the February results through from January and December, given the increase that was approved in the mid-year budget review.
Acting Director.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The mid-year review proposed budget amendment for employee cost, which was passed at the council meeting, was mainly relating to the adjustment to the vacancy credit. In terms of gross salary, the only increases that were provided were mainly on account of casuals at leisure centre and library services, and a couple of new positions that were added as outlined in the report. But the bulk of the adjustment was associated with the reduction of a vacancy credit, because the city forecasted that the savings that we would achieve by 30th of June would not be as we anticipated at the time of adoption of the budget. So the year-to-date has simply been adjusted to reflect the pattern at which the city was expecting to spend the salary, and the overall annual spend was a reduction roughly to the tune of 4 million.
Councillor Rafters.
Thank you. As a follow-up, so in terms of that key adjustment, do we have an updated vacancy rate for the city, given that to January 25 year-to-date was 7.45% as advised? So how does the current rate to February compare to the adjustment down to 2% for the vacancy credit?
Acting Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I would not know the current rate of the vacancy credit as such, but based on the recent results of the financial statement that we have published internally after the February event, which is for the period ending 31st of March 2025, and against the revised budget as adopted by the council, we have only a positive variance of just slightly over 800,000, and that is reflective that we are actually tracking higher than what was initially adopted, and we are quite aligned to the mid-year review budget amendment that we proposed to the council in February.
Councillor Rafters.
Thank you. Yeah, so going back to the first question on this was the year-to-date budget to the end of December was about just under 40 million, and the year-to-date budget to the end of February is 55 million. So I'm just trying to get my head around what is the allocation. Have we adjusted the $82 million budget across the full 12 months, or are we just issuing that from February through to June? If you could clarify how those sums have been allocated.
Acting Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councillor Rafters, the amendment that was proposed in Feb was adjusted for the future months, commencing from the month of Feb 2025, as we would not have made any changes to the historical budget.
Thank you. Councillor Fishwick.
I reserve my right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further comments? Microphone, Councillor Fishwick.
I'm sorry, I'm not flooded with any questions.
In that case, Councillor Pizzey.
Yeah, just a few questions, if that's okay. On page 277, there was a group that went for program research in Adelaide. Could you tell me what that program research was for?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It's the next item, I think.
Yeah,
the credit card transaction report.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. All good.
I'll
Thank
wait
you.
till then.
Thank you. Further comments on this item? Councillor Kingston.
Thank you. My first one goes to the cumulative year-to-date rates collection. It looks like we're tracking 2 years behind the actuals from 2% from the actuals from last year. do we foresee any issues with rates, that there'll be any significant decrease in rates collection by the end of the financial year compared to last?
Acting Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, we do not see any issues. The only reason sometimes there is a variation, while I appreciate 1% can amount to a lot, but because of the timing difference in when the installments are falling due and whether it's around the end of month or not, looking at the updated collection for the month of end of March, I think we are pretty close to or consistent with the collection for the previous year. So we do not foresee any issue with the collection.
Thank you. And following on for that, if there is any change in the percentage of the collection by the end of the financial year, could that indicate financial stress for residents? And is that something we should be considering when we make our rates determination in the current budget process?
Acting Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The collection is helping more with honouring city's obligation in terms of the cash flow, but it does not impact the determination of the rights for the next financial year. And we make sure that we are making every effort through our debt collection process that we rigorously do to make sure that we are at par in terms of collecting our rights. Yeah.
Thank you. And a further question as well. So the attachment 12.11.3, so on page 269, the financial institutions investing versus not investing in fossil fuels, is that on a proportionate basis for the different investments that we have? So let's say, for example, let's say NAB has, say, 10% that they're not investing in fossil fuels. Is this based on a proportionate basis, or do we say, well, some of those entities, say 17% of those entities don't invest in fossil fuels?
Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we use market force data, and my understanding is it's based on the entity as opposed to a percentage base for any of the financial institution.
Thank you. And just on a further aspect of that, does that affect any returns for the investments that we hold?
Acting Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, it does not impact any rate of return on the investment. We follow the normal process in terms of inviting rights for the day at the time of investments maturing, and we still go with the highest sort of rights. This is just a breakdown that indicates of the investment that we have made, what percentage is within fossil fuel.
And could I get taken on notice? The question is, has this 17.92% changed significantly in, say, the last 2 years? So has it increased or decreased from what it was previously?
We'll take that on notice then, that's fine. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then just a short
Councillor.
statement. Yes, I accept a lot of what the acting director has stated in relation to the rates collection. However, I am conscious that there is a roughly 1.6% decrease currently compared to last year's rates collection at the same date. And of course, we're getting nearer to the end of the financial year. So of course, that's not necessarily determinative, but I know in other local governments that have rates collections that are, say, 1% lower than Joondalup's or 0.5%, it can be indicative of financial stress and mortgages that people have. So I will be looking at that closely as we deal with our budget process. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor May.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing that I've noticed on my rates bill is if rates are paid late, there's only a 3% penalty interest. So if a financially savvy resident may decide to just put that money in a term deposit and earn 5.5% to 6% and pay their rates late, because they're only 3%, in my view, is probably too low. So there's not really any incentive to pay your rates early. And I also agree it is also a sign of financial stress for many as well, probably because where cost of living pressures at the moment are higher than they have been in a generation. But another side of it is also a very low penalty interest that's charged.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Raftis, do you wish to close? I'll put that motion and ask you to cast your votes. Thank you. Declare the voting closed, and that is carried. Councillor Pizzi, based on your question, I'm assuming you wish to withdraw item 12.12.
Yes, please.
Are you happy to move?
Yes.
Thank you. Seconder? Seconded Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Pizzi.
Thanks. Just a few questions. So the first one was, what was the program research for in Adelaide on page 277?
Acting Director.
So I need to take that question on notice.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And on a similar account, if we could know what the conference was, if we're in Coffs Harbour?
Acting Director.
We'll,
Yeah.
we'll take that on notice. Yeah.
One more question. We, in my opinion, do significant investment in Facebook advertising. Do we, and other digital media sources, although in this one I just see sort of Facebook, is there a way of showing a benefit to these advertising, as in numbers to events that saw it on the Facebook advertising and turned up to the event? So like a KPI for the money spent on advertising.
That one's probably to governance and strategy, although we have previously done sort of info breakdowns of those. Acting Director Bergman.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the marketing team do keep those kinds of details, so we can provide some further information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments on this item? Oh, sorry, Councillor O'Neill first as seconder.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kingston.
Thank you. Yes, I'm just also looking at page 277 and the advocacy trips there with, of course, the Mayor, the CEO and Councillor Vinciulo. And so it roughly totals about 7,000. Could I get the average cost of these advocacy trips for each round that we do these, if that's possible?
Mr. CEO.
Through you, Presiding Member, Councillor Kingston, I'm happy to take that question on notice.
Thank you. And further on to that point, could I also get a list of people who have been on advocacy trips? Because I know Councillor Pizzi's been on a similar one, Councillor Vinciulo, and could I just get a list of which elected members have been on these trips and just breaking down by costs of them, if possible?
Happy to do so. Yep.
Thank you.
That's fine. Further comments or questions? Councillor Kingston.
Thank you. And just a short comment. Yes, it's always interesting to look at the list of payments and see what's in and out between the different months. But as far as Councillor Pizzi's comment about the Facebook advertising, I think we did deal with the KPI question about 6 months ago at Audit and Risk. So I was wondering if we could, just as a further question, get some of that information recirculated.
Acting Director of Governance.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Kingston, could I ask you to clarify what question was asked at Audit and Risk?
Oh, so this was about 6 or 9 months ago when we were looking at, I think it was lists of payments previously, and we asked around Facebook advertising back then. And because, of course, those amounts are always on the credit cards, and I was just wondering if we can have some of that information recirculated.
I think I'll put the onus of that back on you, Councillor Kingston. But please email after the meeting with the specifics, and then I'm sure the officers will provide it.
I can do that.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Pizzi, do you wish to close?
No, I'm comfortable with that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put that motion and ask you to cast your votes. Declare the voting closed, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have item 13.1.1, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation as printed.
Thank you. Councillor Hutton, do you wish to second? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I note that Kinross residents have been waiting for a long time for improvements to the McNaughton Park facility. I also note that this recommendation was unanimously supported by the Major Projects and Finance Committee. A question, if I may, to the Director, through you, Mr. Mayor. Can I please just seek confirmation that the City will be assisting Kinross Community Garden in relocation of the existing temporarily located planting beds, establishment of the planting beds in permanent locations, and provision of a dedicated space for storage of equipment? Thank you.
Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of the specifics around each specific community group that uses that facility, we will manage that on a case-by-case basis with those groups. I'm not across the detail of each arrangement with each of the groups, so I would be reluctant to confirm that, yes, there is opportunities in place, but that's normally form part of the overall project structure in terms of how we manage the users during the construction period. So I assume in this case that will be the same, and we'll look at the details around that closer to the time when we decide on a specific project and finalising the budget process.
Thank you. In that case, I'll reword the question, and it'll be no doubt in the form of a question on notice. The Kinross Community Garden was not allowed to permanently establish their planting beds because of the upcoming works to McNaughton Park facility. So this is external to the building. So they've always understood that during the refurbishments, they'll be required to move their planting beds away from the building. And once the works are completed, the planting beds will be relocated to permanent positions outside the building once it's refurbished. And I also understand from previous discussion that they'll be provided with some internal storage in the building, which they've never had to date. So can I convert that to a question on notice on those specific points? It's quite different from other users of the facility which are based inside the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Through Mr. Mayor, I'll take that on notice, yeah.
Yes, thank you. This project will deliver high standard facilities to all of the groups that use this facility. I'm sure that the Kinross Community Garden will appreciate that they will also benefit from having a more permanent and better equipped presence. I encourage all elected members to support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hutton.
Thank you. Just before we begin, just a quick question. Noting point 6 of the recommendation, it's about the contribution levels. And there's been a commitment from a candidate that will come in federal election of $2 million towards this plan. I just wonder how this plays out if that candidate is successful and that money comes to fruition. Do we then bring this back to council, or how is it addressed?
Director Klassen.
Through Mr. Mayor, any of the election commitments, when those commitments do come to fruition, we'll bring a report back to council, either for a single project, combined projects in a single report, to consider the offer of the grant funding and how it would impact on the projects and delivery, but those will be considered by council, as it would require a budget amendment as well.
I will just clarify, it might not have been how you meant it, but it was how you phrased it. My understanding of the commitment is not conditioned on the candidate being returned, but the party that makes the commitment forming government. Very important distinction. Councillor Hutton.
Yeah, thank you. And I do note the distinction. I think effectively one will become the same in my opinion, but I take the point. Now, yes, I echo the comments made by my co-ward councillor, Deputy Mayor Adrian Hill. I think this is a needed upgrade. I think the community is really something that's been called for. We did see through last winter some of the damage done to this facility with the storm and damage to the roof, which is obviously then causing maintenance costs from a city perspective. So I think now is definitely the time for this upgrade to proceed. I do think it's important that we consider the users who use the outside areas of the facility, as the Deputy Mayor has mentioned, such as the community garden. Obviously wait to see if money comes through after the federal election, and we'll deal with that process necessary. I do also note that adjacent to the facility, the Kinross Skate Park is a very, very popular used facility, and I imagine there'll hopefully be opportunities for both facilities to be used by a variety of users in the community and to seek to get the benefit from them. But yeah, I support the recommendation as it currently is.
Thank you. Councillor Kingston.
Thank you. And just a question to the officers. With the current federal election, could we receive by email a table of all the commitments which have come out of this election after Election Day and whether they're valid with the respective parties and candidates?
Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Councillor Kingston, through you, presiding member. Yes, that's something that the administration was, in any event, planning to update elected members with after the conclusion of this election.
Thank you. And just a further question, which candidates currently have made a commitment towards this project?
This one is the sitting member for Pearce. There's other commitments. Some are matched. To the best of my knowledge, this one is just from the member for Pearce.
Okay, thank you. Just a short comment. Yeah, look, it's positive this is being done, and if it's positive as well if the city's advocacy has managed to obtain election commitments for this and other outcomes. Especially this has been an issue since last year with the winters where the roof was leaking. So even I got commentaries about this, even though it's not in my ward. So it's good to see this happening.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor May.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just while we're on the topic of projects and advocacy, I observed at the early voting centre in Duncraig last week on another major project we're embarking on, people showing no interest in the people with T-shirts handing things out or the signs. They were all looking at the Adventure Hub under construction directly next door and very pleased with it, and observed many positive conversations between people about it. So this kind of stuff is really what people notice, and also it's a commendation of our Director Class and his team as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Raftis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. In terms of the timing, in terms of noting this for the budget discussion, what is the planned year for this, given we are waiting until next year for the outcome of the grant application?
Director Glassen.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the funding application will get in 2026. The proposed budget for the project is for design from memory in 2025-26 and construction the year after. I don't have that in front of me, but I think that's. Let me take it on notice to make sure I provide you with the correct information and the anticipated year of construction.
Councillor Raftis.
Thank you. As a follow-up, just wondered if the director could clarify and provide some more information around the paragraph at the top of page 93 regarding the funding and the financial capacity of the city.
Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the indication in that paragraph was that will require rephasing of other projects to enable the construction of this project within the Building Construction Works program. The rephasing of the Building Construction Works program and the overall 5-year capital works program was presented to elected members at the budget workshop in early April, where we discussed the rephasing of the projects to fit these projects and the increase in cost into the affordability targets as explained at that workshop.
Further comments? Deputy Mayor, do you wish to close?
Yes, thank you. Just briefly, appreciate the support from elected members expressed so far. Just supportive of the city, what the city does in terms of holding budget workshops to explain all these matters. And I do look forward to seeing in future how the budget allocations go and if we get any further funding from federal government. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put that motion and ask you to cast your votes. Declare voting closed and the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. I seek a mover for an exception resolution that we adopt item 12.1 and 12.6. Moved Councillor O'Neill, seconded Councillor Chester. Thank you. Put that motion and ask you to cast your vote. Thank you. Declare those carried unanimously. Next item is to, here, there are no reports of the CEO, there is no urgent business, and there are no motions of, wait a second, let me just check the, there are no motions of which previous notice has been given. So I'll therefore propose a procedural motion. Thank you to those attending in the gallery, but I am about to propose that we go behind closed doors now and consider the 3 confidential items. It will probably be here for a while, so you are very welcome to remain and return, but I would suggest it will be a long night in the waiting room and there's probably not much happening when you get back. You are welcome to, but I wouldn't. But if you wish to, by all means. I'm proposing, and I'm not going to read all of it out, noting that we don't have a large public attendance, that we close the meeting as per the motion on the screen before you, and that for item 12.4, we allow those 12 officers as listed, including the City's General Counsel, to remain, and for item 12.5, that we allow those 5 officers only, as highlighted, to be permitted to remain. So moved and seconded from Deputy Mayor. While it doesn't specify who returns for, actually I'll just seek some governance advice because it doesn't specify for the appointment to the committee who returns. So for the sake of completeness.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, no, it does. Sorry, I misread that. Thank you. Thank you. I'll put that motion then and ask you to cast your votes. Thank you. Declare the voting closed and the motion is carried. And I'll leave at that point. Mr. Deputy Mayor. order of business. Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Jones. By a show of hands, those in favour? Against? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 17, announcements of notices of motion for the next meeting. Are there any notices of motion? If not, item 18, that concludes tonight's meeting, and I hereby close the meeting at 8:35 p.m. Thank you all.